and welcome to the Enchantment Hour with Philippa Woodsford and Maxine K. Brown. All our social media and websites are in the bottom of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Hello and welcome to the Enchantment Hour. We've actually gone live on time and there's no hiccups.
Yes.
Yes, yet. So do you want to introduce yourself, Philippa, to everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. So good morning, everybody. It's nice to see you at 10 o'clock. My name's Philippa Woodsford and I am a medium. I do psychotherapy, hypnotherapy and holistic therapy. I can't even remember what I do now. I do many different things. And I'm the author of the book Cursed Daggers.
And thanks very much. And I'm Maxine Brown and I'm a life coach, hypnotherapist and also author. And I've written 31 Days Life-Changing Journal and also a year journal, which are all available from Amazon. So today's topic of conversation is all about change, which we both feel is a real good topic because we both like change, don't we?
We do, yeah. We're with some of them really weird people who actually embrace change and bring it on, aren't we? We don't sell, do we?
No, something's not right. That's it. Get it changed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, it'd be really interesting for you to tell your story a little bit about the big changes that you've made over the last few years, Maxine, because they're so inspiring. And I think, definitely I'm sort of looking into my future thinking that's the sort of thing that I would like to do. And it's given me a little bit more sort of oomph really to plan towards doing that. So I'm sure people would be really interested.
Yeah. Well, about three and a half years ago, Steve and I decided that we were going to go and live on a narrowboat. He's had lots and lots of narrowboat holidays over the years. I've had one with him and his mum and his brother, but I've had boating holidays. My parents used to own boats for many, many, many years. So we went and started looking at them, decided to build our own or get somebody to build our own. And we found some chaps in Booton Camp near Ollerton and we ordered one. We had to wait 18 months for it to start. And then we had the shell built. We're just in the mid-process now of finishing off. We move on the 4th of March. We've sold the house, sold all the furniture, had a huge, huge clear out, which was really good.
Half of your house and mine.
It was fantastic getting rid of stuff, but you don't realise how much, well, I didn't realise how many belongings we got and how little stuff we actually need.
Yeah.
Because we don't need everything clothes. I mean, I love my clothes, but I now know I have far, far too many, even though I've cut down and we've said, I've taken so much to charity, it's ridiculous. And now looking, because we're just in a cottage at the moment until the boat's ready, I've still got loads of clothes and I know I'm going to have to reduce even more. But it's proved it while I've been away, because we're going out walking and doing things which we're going to do when we're on the boat.
Yeah.
I don't need all the clothes I've got, and you don't need as much stuff. So yeah, it's a huge life-changing event that's happening, but it's so exciting too.
Oh, do you know what? I couldn't be more excited for you. Honestly, and it's not even me that's going on this boat, and I'm literally so excited for you. And I'm so proud of you for doing it as well, because like we were chatting about earlier on, so many people sit and they go, I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. Oh, I would have loved to have done such and such. And you're like, do it. Oh, couldn't possibly.
Yeah.
Why not? Oh, well. And then you can see them actively thinking of reasons why they shouldn't do it. And they're like, hang on a minute, I'll come up with another one in a second. This is why I shouldn't do it. And you just think, no. Do you know what? Years ago, how old was I? It's about 20, I think. I went into engineering when I left school. I never really fancied doing a girly job. I always loved cars. I loved engines. My dad worked in a factory, so he used to take me to the factory on weekends when he did overtime. And I loved the smell of the oil and the sounds of the machines and stuff. And, I was always quite grungy with my Dr. Martin boots and things like that on. And when I left school, I went into engineering and I absolutely loved it. And slightly off tack, but they never paid me what they paid the men. So I ended up sort of operating and programming on 2 different departments and still getting less than one bloke on one department for doing the same job.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that would have grown and sort of, you know, developed over time. But I knew if I didn't travel when I was younger, that at some point I hoped I would have a family. And at some point I thought I'm going to end up with a mortgage and I'm not going to be able to do it. So I remember this day going in and going, are you going to give me this pay rise or not? And they said, oh, well, give it another 6 months and we'll think about it. And I just thought, how many times have I heard that? No, I'm not. So I applied for a job that I'd read about in the newspaper for a company called Sunset Flying Colours. And I went down to Bolton and did an interview, which was like really weird. It was a bit like being on Butlins, but in pink, Butlins in pink. And I did an interview and they said, we're really impressed, but we've actually got enough reps. What we're looking for now is reserves. So I came away thinking, I'm not sure if I've got a job or not. Anyway, did my manifestation as I always do. Within days, I had a phone call saying, we need you to go to Portugal. This was on, I think it was on the Wednesday night, but we need you to be there on Saturday morning. How you fixed? And I went, yeah, okay. Why not?
Yeah.
And I went to work on the Thursday and I handed my notice in and my boss was like, oh, so when are you leaving? Are you doing your 3 months? No, I'm going to my afternoon. He was like, what? So then there was all this argy-bargy about whether they were going to let me go. And in my head, I was like, I don't need permission.
That's it. I'm going.
I'm going. You know, and I left that job at 2:00 on the Friday afternoon and I was on a plane at 7:00 from Manchester on the Saturday morning on my own. As you said, I had it was my Gran Wilson's weekend case, basically. Yeah. At the time, I was a size 6 to 8, so you could get a lot more clothes in a small bag when you're that size. You know, I think I struggle with that now. And I just rolled everything up and I took the bare minimum and I got on that plane and I lived in Portugal for 2 years and I did a lot of travel around and we used to go on buses and go to Seville and I went to Gibraltar and we did lots of things like that. We went up to like the north of the country and we travelled around the Algarve. Same way, it was just people I met when I was there. Yeah. Know anybody. I had nowhere to live. And we did that quite a lot. That was where I met Dom and I met up with a few friends and stuff over there. And we moved every few weeks. And I think that's why change doesn't bother me because you just sort of think, oh, well, this place is rented out to holiday makers in 6 weeks. So we've only got 6 weeks. And we'd sit in a bar with a suitcase next to you and a glass of beer thinking, I've got nowhere to sleep tonight. And somebody would come in and go, oh, I know somebody who's got somewhere to rent. Pop in my car. I mean, you would never do that now. And we'll take you. I mean, we spent some nights in some dodgy places, I can tell you. That's something I'll talk about online. But ever since then, I think if something hasn't worked for me, I've not been frightened about taking that leap. Yeah. And I read for so many customers who come to me time after time after time. And in the end, I say, I'm not reading anymore because you're the only person now that can make the changes. I've given you the energy outlooks. I've given you the possibles. Yeah. You need to make that change now. And, you know, I think once people do, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is. Uplifting. It is. And I think it's just being brave. And I know it sounds simple being brave, but it is. You've got to be brave and believe in yourself because it will happen. And I've done that with jobs all the time. If I'm not happy in something and not enjoying it, then I'll just look for something else and I'll leave and start again. It's not the end of the world. I think it's scary sometimes because you don't know what the outcome's going to be. But I can honestly say it's not worth staying somewhere, and it can be relationship, work, friendship, anything like that, if you're not happy. And so go and change it because you're the only person that can change it. Absolutely. Yeah, you can't expect somebody else to change it for you, can you?
No, not at all. And, you know, there is that old saying, isn't it? Like, if you can't change your circumstances, change how you feel about them. And I do think perspective is the big thing here. I know, like my mum, bless her, she's so lovely, but she's very much, you can't do that because what if that happens? Or you can't do that, what if? And my sister was stuck in a job that she really didn't enjoy. She was working with people that weren't particularly very nice to her. And she stuck it out for a long time and she had an opportunity to move jobs. Less money, more hours, but potentially much better all round with lots more opportunities and things. And she was like, I'm going to do it. And I was like, yeah, do it. You need to. You've got to look at what you're going to gain in the future. You can sit where you are, things are never going to change, or you can take a little bit of a risk and go back in order to move forward. It's a bit like reversing out of a parking space.
Yeah.
Then be able to get out the car park. And I know my mum sort of panicked a little bit with that, because she was like, well, can't you just stay there for another couple of years? And can't you just hang it out to see if it's going to get any better? Well, after 10 years, if it hasn't changed, no.
No.
And she did it. And, it has been a good thing for her. And already within a matter of months, she's been offered 2 or 3 other jobs, and she's got lots of other opportunities coming up. And you think she would never have got that if she'd stayed where she was.
That's it. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I know lots, especially with what we're doing at the moment, people have said, are you not scared? And I've just said, no, there's nothing to be scared of. And I know it's a huge thing, but I really am not. And until you've done something, then you won't know. And you can always go back to try, to do whatever you were happy about. Well, you weren't happy before. You can always go back to that life. But if you're really unhappy in your life, then you've got to move forward.
Yeah. I think not even go back, I've got this little analogy. Yeah, absolutely. I've got this little analogy, and I use it a lot when I read for people. And I'll say to them, right, imagine your life. You're born with 10 marbles and you die with 10 marbles. And all the way through your life, you're only allowed to have 10 marbles in your bag in one go. You're not allowed any more. So if there's some marbles in your bag that you're not really that happy with, you can swap them, but you can't have more than 10. So sometimes when we bring change in, it can be uncomfortable, because sometimes you quite like the 10 marbles that are in your bag, but you really want a couple of marbles that are out here. And you know that you have to give something up, which you might grieve over, you might be a bit sad over or whatever, in order to put these new marbles in. But like you said, if you don't make the changes, you're always going to be hankering after, I wish I had them marbles in my bag. I wish I'd been able to do this. And like what you've done, you've just gone, do you know what? Maybe when I'm 85, I might not be living on a boat, but you know what? I'll review it when I'm 85 and we'll see how circumstances are. You're not spending the next 20 years going, oh, well, if I do that, 20 years time, things might not work out. You're literally grabbing it and you're just going for it, because we've only got now. We haven't got yesterday. We haven't got tomorrow. We've only got now.
Exactly. And you don't know what's around the corner. And so it would be awful to always wish you had done something, because, as I say, tomorrow can completely change your life, because, when you might not be here, things happen so that you can't do what you really, really want to do. And that's why you just have to grasp it and just try, make those moves, and if it's something really, really big, then start putting things in plan so that you can change them, because not everything starts immediately, but as long as you start writing stuff down and planning how, and follow that plan, don't give up on it, because sometimes it can take a long time and it's not the easiest thing to do. But I mean, like jobs, you can start then looking for different jobs and start putting your feelers out and things like that. But don't just keep doing the same job each day and getting more and more unhappy and not enjoy your life, because you've only got one. And that's the thing. You've got to just do what you can to it.
Absolutely. And I think it's that with relationships as well, isn't it? I mean, we all have to work at them. Sometimes they're not great, but they do get better if both parties are prepared to put work in. I think the difference with that is when there's some sort of abuse involved, and sometimes it's not as easy to make those changes physically as much. You might be very ready mentally, but physically. But as you've just said there, it's all about making plans. It's all about seeking out what you can do, when you're going to be able to do it. There's always some sort of help available, isn't there? Even when you don't feel that there is.
Yeah.
And I think, unless you are absolutely trapped in something, which is very rare, anything that makes you feel sad or that brings you down or doesn't allow you to be authentic with yourself or happy with yourself, you've got to take responsibility. You have to take responsibility for the fact that you're in that situation. However, that's not taking fault. When people go, take responsibility, are you blaming me? No. Things happen. But what we have to do is take responsibility for where we are, and then take responsibility for making the changes to get out of that situation or change that situation. And there's always some way, and it's tiny little steps, isn't it, sometimes?
Yeah, and just speak to people, because you'll be amazed how many people can help you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I did that, 12 years ago with my relationship. It was a 25-year marriage, and I just knew I had to change. Yeah. And I probably should have changed it quite a few years previously, but I wasn't brave enough at the time. And that's when I think I got stronger, and I realised, I thought, no, you've only got one life. And that's why, and it was the scariest thing I've ever done. I'd never lived by myself before. I'd always lived with parents or my partner. But it was the most fantastic thing I'd ever done, because it was just, I was free to do when I wanted. And it was, it really was. But I must admit, the first time, when I decided that was it, I was doing it, God, I was absolutely petrified. But I knew I needed to carry on my life, and I knew that it wasn't going to work where I was. And so why be unhappy for the rest of my life? Just go and start again.
Yeah.
But when I look back, I'd seen myself living where I ended up living.
Right.
In my little 1-bedroom house, because I rented a 1-bedroom house, and I'd had premonition about that years ago. I used to have to think about that. It was very weird. But so everybody can do it, as you say, but it's just, and don't keep waiting, because, as I say, I did that, I know, a long time ago, and I should never have done it. But you do things like that, but just start putting plans and act on those plans.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? We always think like, oh, tomorrow's another day, it'll come. And then I think as well, the older you get, the harder change is.
Yes, definitely.
Particularly when it comes to jobs and relationships, and you sort of get settled, don't you? And like, even if it's moving house, we've thought a few times about moving sort of down Weymouth way. I mean, we'd have to win the lottery first, like, because it's really expensive to go down there. But, we sort of think at some point we will do something like that. But at the minute, it's not the right time, because the boys are still at home. But we're already putting plans in motion of going. We're not making definite plans, because we're not sure exactly what we're going to do. But we know that these are certain things that we'd like to do. Do you know what I mean? And we'd like to do a bit more travel. So we're already planning for that and putting those things in. And I think that's the thing about change. Some changes, you need to just grab it and go for it and do it there and then. Other changes, you get a little bit of luxury of time. But, I mean, like you, I've lost a lot of friends already. I'm 46 years old. And I think there's 7, 8 of my friends who didn't get past 41.
Yeah.
And you think, I'm always saying to my clients, if you're this unhappy now, I remember reading for a lady the other day, and I said to her, how long have you felt like this? She said, 19 years. I said, do you want to feel like this for another 19 years? She said, no, I don't, but I can't see a way out. So we discussed that with her, of making tiny changes, thinking about where she would like to be, thinking about how she could do that, putting a little bit of money away, starting to just make a few little alterations and changes to enable her at some point, hopefully in the near future, to be able to make that leap. And she is doing that. She has been in touch since. She is doing that, which is marvelous.
It is, because as I say, it doesn't matter how small the changes are, they will get you to your end goal. And it's just writing everything down so you can see where your end goal is. And they're doing a timeline, really. And so just each month or each week, just do a little bit extra to get to your end goal. And that can be in everything, any type of thing. I mean, it can be getting into your fitness, so you change if you're not as fit as you want to be, and things like that. If you can see where your end goal is, and then so you just write everything down, and each week give yourself a new target to achieve, and it's just keep changing, and changing that way, and it's just changing your attitude and your foresight into everything to get to where you want to be at the end.
It's that thing about walking where you focus, isn't it?
It is.
If you are so focused on something, you will get there at some point. It doesn't matter if you have to walk around a few boulders or go around a few bendy streets, or if you have to go back a bit. It's a bit like football, sometimes you have to play it back before you go forward. But it's walking where you focus and just keeping that in mind. And I think ultimately, I mean, it always makes me laugh when people go, you only live once. And I think, I'm a past life regressionist. I 100% believe that, if I'm honest. Kind of most of us have been here several times. But the whole thing is, when we do come down to this earth plane, whatever you believe is afterlife or forelife or whatever, we are all just here for a set amount of time, and none of us know how long that time is. They don't come down and give you a little ticket and go, right, you're here until 2027. We give you a short one because you was here a long time last time, so we give you a short. We don't know, and that's the beauty of it. And I think that's why I'm very much live for today, be happy, be authentic with yourself. If there's something in your life that isn't working, chuck the marble out your bag and get a new
get a
one.
new marble. I like
Yeah,
that analogy. I really do. I think it's brilliant.
I don't know what came up with it, but you know what? I say it all the time when I'm doing my readings. You've only got 10 marbles and you want 2 marbles. You've got to give something up. And it's that thing of, you know, if you giving all the time and you give all your marbles away, you've got none in your bag, you've got none left for you, but you can't get any more in than what your 10 is. So you've got to make your choices. And yeah, it does really work, and it makes people think, doesn't it? It makes them think, oh God, yeah, you know, I'm going to have to let something go. I'm going to have to change something. Where this fear of change comes from, I think primarily it sort of comes down to sort of an innate response of survival, doesn't it?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
And when you sort of get really heavy into it, you look at the psychology, it's got to be something to do with stability and survival, really, to where that fear comes from.
I think if you've got, because you're, as you say, stability, because you've got your roof over your head, you've got money coming in to be able to pay your bills, to feed you and things like that, and you just think, if I take one of those away, will I be able to carry on doing that? And that's the bit you've just got to just go for it. And I think that's what scares people sometimes, and just think, oh, will it move to make me happier and to have the life I want and things like that. And that's why if you do the planning, then yes, it will. And sometimes you just have to jump in and just think, let's see what happens.
That's what I was going to say. Sometimes you've just got to do it, don't you? I mean, I remember when we were first having Ben, and, you know, it's quite a scary time. You're having your first baby. We'd just moved back to the UK from Portugal because I didn't want to have a baby over there with no friends and family around us, you know, so I wanted to have him here. And Don was in farming at the time, and the farm had said to him, basically, we're getting rid of the stock. You know, this was, you know, not long before the foot and mouth thing came out, when there was a decline with stock anyway, particularly with the milk parlours, because it was all European. So they said to him, you know, we're just giving the heads up that at some point you're going to be made redundant, but we don't know exactly when, but we are getting rid of them. And I mean, they were really good by giving them the heads up. And he said, you know, there's 2 things that I want to do. He said, one, work with animals, and one, work with children. So if I can't be in farming, I'd really like to be in teaching. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. So my mum and dad were like, whoa, hang on a minute. Here. How are we going to manage this? How are the 2 of you going to manage to raise a child and pay your bills if he's at full-time university? And we were like, don't know, but we'll give it a go. And we'll just see. And yeah. And Don went to uni. He had to go back to college because he had no GCSEs and no A-levels or anything. So he went back to college. He got his qualifications. I moved home for a little while so I could do a job in Newcastle, and I could sort of be at home so we could save a bit of money. We had Ben. I moved down here when Ben was 5 months old, and we both worked 2 or 3 jobs each around everything else. So he would go out at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to university. I would be in all day with Ben, normally demented, because it's really hard on your own, isn't it, with a little, and you've got no family or anything to help. He would then come back in 5 or 6 o'clock at night. I would literally hand the baby over and say, your dinner's in the microwave, I'm off to work. And I would either go out and do a night shift doing care work, or I'd work at the pub up the road. Then I started childminding while Ben was little, so I had something during the day as well. And, you know, some weeks I remember standing at the bottom of the till in Asda going, I can't afford me shopping. What can I do without? Right, well, I need the nappies. So my kids were brought up pretty much in washable nappies because it saved a fortune and it was better for the environment. People might have thought it was grim, but, you know, when you've got a certain amount of money, you don't get a choice. And actually, I don't regret it. It was great. And then I made everything from scratch. I made all my own biscuits and cakes. My next door neighbour did bread, so we did swaps on Wednesdays and Sundays. And we did stuff like that. And, you know, if we were going to go out, we took our own picnics somewhere, and we had a lovely life. We bought a little caravan. I think it was about 800 quid. It was like a 1989 Elders Tornado, no hot water, no bathroom. That's the best caravan I've ever had out of all the ones I've had. Absolute favourite. And do you know what? For years we struggled, but we struggled with the end goal of this is going to be so worth it when we've done it. I then sort of built up my business and did more qualifications on the side as well. And we're now in a lovely situation where, you know, we can make ends meet. You know, we've got a lovely car on the drive and we live in a lovely house. All right, we're not multimillionaires, we're not rich, but we're comfortable with where we are. And had we not made those changes, we wouldn't be where we are now.
No, that's it.
You know, it was really hard for a long time. I mean, we're probably talking 10 years that we really struggled for, but it's been well worth it in the long run. I think you've always got to keep that focus in mind.
You have, if you've got an end goal, and that's the thing, and that's why it's so important to write everything down and plan yourself if you can.
Yeah.
Say it's not the end of the world. If something's major happening, then you need to do a quick change, and then think about how do I go forward from now? And that can be in relationships or work. If it's something really not working and it's really making you unhappy, then get out and then think about, how do I now move my life forward by doing these changes. But if it's something you can plan for, I mean, it's definitely worth it. And then when you were saying about working night shift, I remember doing that when Liz was little. I used to work at the care home, and I used to either work afters or nights, and then so she hand her over, and then in the morning I used to come in at 7:30 in the morning, and Dad would hand her over, and I'd go so feed her and everything, take her to nursery so I could get a couple of hours kid. And go pick her up. And they used to come in, I used to go back to bed.
I bought a push bike so I could get Ben down to nursery quicker, so I could get when he was there for 2.5 hours. And I knew if I went on my bike and came back on my bike, I'd get a full 2 hours kick before I had to go back and pick them up. I was pedaling like that, 90 miles an hour up the road to pick them up, wind in my hair, getting there all sweaty. But and then there was days when my neighbour from next door would come and she'd say, I'm going to see my daughter. I know you've had a lot on lately. Would you like me to take Ben? I'm just going for the afternoon. I literally used to shove them out the door. They are taken.
That's it.
Oh, my mum would be like, "You getting your jobs done?" No, I'm going to bed. Get some sleep.
It is. It's. I mean, life just throws so many different things at you. That's why if you can do what you need to do, then get it done. Really. And
I think as well, have faith in yourself that you're going to be resourceful. Because people always think if I make these changes and I take this stability away, then I'm not going to have that stability. I'm not going to have that money. I'm not going to have that security. What am I doing? It's all going to fail. It's all going to go belly up. And you think you're not giving yourself any credit for actually how resourceful you are. You won't allow yourself to be in that situation. You will always find a way forward. There's always sacrifices, but you will always, if you have to work 3 jobs like we've done to make ends meet, then that's what you do, and people do that, and I think that's what we all forget sometimes, that we are so resourceful. We have so many ways of making something work. And as you said, if it doesn't work, make another change, do something slightly different. There's no harm.
I can remember doing that it was about 5 years ago with work. I wasn't happy where I was. And so I left. I had a job to go to. I managed to get another job, and I went to this job, and I had a week there, and then I was going on holiday for a week. And I was back into an office there was 3 people in there, and I absolutely detested it. I was coming home, and I'm just not enjoying this at all. It's not for me. It's not. It was. I had to get the new job because the job I was being made redundant, so I needed to find something quickly. And I just thought, I just can't do this. So while we were on holiday, in fact, it was on the narrowboat, the first time we went on the narrowboat, I got my emails, and I was just scouring and I just said to Steve, I will get a job while we're away. I'll get interviews, and I'm not going back to that job. I got 4 interviews to go for when we came back. I got offered one, so I accepted it. And then I went for another. I still went for the other interview. Preferred that one, so I went for a second interview with that one. Cancelled the other one and went and worked for the training company. And I loved that because it was similar to what I'd been doing. So that's what I'm saying. It's always there is. If you believe in yourself, you can always find something. 100%. And just go with the change and see what happens.
And even if you've got to do something that you didn't particularly want to do, to springboard you onto what it is that you do want to do, then you have to view it as that, don't you? You have to keep that end goal in mind. But you say I love change, I embrace it, and I don't know if it's because I've had kidney problems and I've sort of always been a bit like, how long am I going to be here? And my mum's always said, you've always lived 3 lives in one. Well, because I'm going to cram it all in.
Definitely.
And it's nice, and now we're at the point where Dom's just literally put his form in to go down to 4 days a week because he was quite poorly. He went back to work full time, which we knew was going to be a challenge for him.
Yeah.
He's really struggled mentally and emotionally as well as physically. I think obviously losing both his parents in the space of 2 years, it really made him think. And I know, like, we've gotten to the point where we were fighting, and we never fight, and we were arguing about stuff. And, you know, I spent a couple of nights on the sofa because I was sulking. And, and that just, yeah, I was going to say, that just isn't us.
Yeah.
And we sat and we said, so what's the problem? Right, well, the problem is 5 days a week is going to kill me. Right, okay, so what do I need to do? Well, I need to work 4 days a week, but we can't afford for me to work 4 days a week. Right, well, let's get a spreadsheet out and look at actually what we've got coming in and what the difference will be and what we can do to fill that gap. Boys are older now. I took on a second job. I love both of them. I am knackered doing them both together.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely loving them. I'm enjoying that. So that brings in a bit extra there. And then we've gone, actually, by the time he's paying less tax, less national insurance, less than his pension and everything else, there's not that much of a change. And, you know, you think there'll be something that comes in that props that up a little bit. And we've got a way up. Do we lose a little bit of money, but have a better quality of life?
Yeah.
Or do we hang on in there, but actually this is starting to like ruin our marriage now? Do you know what I mean? Not just our health, but our marriage as well. So he did it on Friday. He'd already spoken to his boss. He spoke to the governors. He's put his form in. And you think, from September, that's it, job done. Now, instead of sitting worrying about it, thinking, oh my God, how are we going to manage in September? We're going, it's going to be lush. I'll work 4 days a week. You work 4 days a week, and then we'll have 3 days off. We've already got so many plans about what we're going to do with those 3 days. And it might not be every week. There'll be some weeks I have to work weekends, but you know what? That's okay because you've got other times, and it's so exciting.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's what works for you, but you've put those changes in place so that you know that everything will go back to how you want it to be and make everything work. And it's just, again, you've done it, you've seen it, and you've put the plan into action and gone with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you sort of you think about it for a little while, and then you go, how long am I going to think about this? Are we just going to do it? Yeah, crack on. We were like that when we bought the car, though. You know, we were like, don't know if we're going to get a car or not. We got rid of both of our single cars and got one between us. Went and looked at this car, thought it was absolutely beautiful, but came out and did the whole, we'll have a little think about it. We literally walked to the pub round the corner for lunch. We didn't even order food. We just went, we having the Mini then? Yeah, come on. Sometimes we've just got it. And at the time, we had no idea how we were going to afford that. We had it built so the seats worked for me. We had no idea how we were going to manage it, but you do.
Yeah, that's it.
You do manage it. You make it work.
But as you said earlier, as you get older, change can be more difficult because I think you worry about more things then, and especially as you get into your 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
I know my parents change. My mum's not too, but I know it can affect them with things happening, and they just think of things how differently. So they don't like major changes because it upsets their routine and things like that. And so that can be difficult as you get older, and especially when you start losing partners and things like that. That change of your life, because your life is going to completely change, and it's trying to find a new way of living without your loved one, sort of thing. So that is that can be a very difficult time, and it's just then I think looking for people around you to help you. And talking to people, looking for different clubs and things like that. And if somebody's offering help, accept it. Don't think you're being weak for accepting the help, because it can make a big difference for you.
This is what we were saying when we were talking about the self-worth and about the grief and all of the other podcasts that we've done. It's always like, don't ever view struggling as a weakness for something. You know, you will manage, you will find a way to manage. It's sometimes about changing the words, isn't it? And it's about, you know, like we were saying, we've talked about sort of changing jobs and things when it's quite easy. But as I mentioned before, if you're in like an abusive relationship or a controlling relationship or whatever, sometimes it's not that easy to get out of, but you do have to take responsibility to make those changes. But it's absolutely fine to reach out and ask for help and get that little bit extra support. Excuse me. And, you know, we're all very aware that sometimes change for some people could be quite dangerous, you know, and excuse me, that's when plans and things come into place where things have to be done properly, doesn't it? You know,
it definitely is, especially within relationships and everything, especially if you're having an abusive relationship or anything like that. Look for help. And because then those people can help you get your plan into place, and don't think there's nobody else out there that will help you, because there's so many different places you can go to, and they will put the plan in, and they will get you out of that situation. Don't ever stay in a situation where things are not right, and you know that they're not right. You need to make the changes. You are going to be very, very brave by doing it, but just think of what life you'll have afterwards, and that's the thing. And just get the support.
Yeah, sometimes there's some real danger there, and I know I work with several women who've been in quite narcissistic relationships, and they've made the change, they've been brave, they've managed to get out of that situation, but for years afterwards they're hounded, absolutely hounded. And I think it's a lot worse when there's children involved, because you can't break that cycle. So I do absolutely 100% understand men and women, because it happens to men as well as women, just not as sort of widely advertised, but where they'll say, well, I'd rather stay because at least I know what I'm putting up with here, and at least I know I can protect the children, where if I leave, I'm going to be less safe than what I am now. But I still sometimes think there has to be a point where you've got to put your happiness first, and the health of your children and that sort of thing, and try and make those changes, but absolutely reach out and take every scrap of help and support that you can get, And sometimes if you see somebody in a situation like that as well, we're all a little bit, well, I didn't mention it because it's not really any of my business. Sometimes people think, I'm hiding this really well, and nobody else has noticed. Nobody knows. And actually, if you can say to somebody, are you really all right? Because I've noticed a couple of little things that don't quite add up. You're giving somebody then the opportunity to open up, and you might actually be able to help them. I mean, I've had more than once, I've had people who've come to me either for readings or for counselling, and they've been in very difficult situations. And I've said to them, why can't you leave? Well, because I've only got my sisters to go to, and you'll know I've got my sisters, you'll come and get us. Or, well, because of this or because of that. Right, okay, doesn't know who I am, come here. And Dom, or one of the kids, opens the door and finds somebody on the doorstep with 3 kids and a couple of bags. And they're like, Philippa said we could come and stay a couple of days. Oh, let's have you in. This is why I have a sofa bed. I've always got a sofa bed. I've always had one. And I'm like, we can cram another couple of people in. And I've done that a few times for people, and just being that little safe haven so they can get out. Nobody knows where they are. I'm not advocating for everybody to come and land on my door. On my door this afternoon, there'll be 3 or 4 people there. But go somewhere where you are going to be safe, that nobody is going to come looking for you because they won't know where you are. Give yourself some breathing space. Give yourself a little bit of time. Gather your thoughts, make your plan, and then start to move forward from there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And what I'll do is in the podcast section of this, I will put all the information for some safe places and some information where they can go to get more help. So I'll look for those as well.
Look, just before we finish, definitely. Sorry. And just say, I don't normally get comments come up until after I've come off. If people don't comment on the actual stream, when it comes up on my chat. So if we've missed anybody, I'm not sure I can see any of those comments there. You might. I know there's people watching, because I can see that there's people watching. We've got a couple of likes on there, but I can't see any comments unless people haven't commented. Sometimes they just like to listen. But I have found people do tend to message afterwards, don't they? I don't know if you've seen as well, but I've had a few people who've messaged after the podcast who've not wanted to comment so that people can see.
That's right.
To chat, and that's okay.
Yes, obviously we'll put this out the record version, and so if anybody wants to make any comments to either of us, then please do so, and we'll obviously do
comments.
Yes.
Nice comments, keep it clean.
So I think we've exhausted for what we have, but we just think we embrace change, don't we? So.
Absolutely. I think we're massive advocates for it, aren't we? We're very much, you've just got to live your life. You just got to go and enjoy it. If it's not working, change it, do something different. Don't be afraid of what that change will bring, because worst case scenario, you'll have to make another change again. But all that happiness and joy that you could get from that, it's got to be worth giving it a go.
That's it. Even if it only gives you 5 minutes of happiness for that one, then you've got another 5 minutes that you didn't have previously.
5 minutes of wonderful is better than a lifetime of nothing special, isn't it?
Definitely, yes. So we just want to thank everybody for listening today, and obviously we'll be having another chat soon. If there's any conversation you think would be a good one, please drop us a message, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, because we're running out of ideas.
Yeah.
So we always come up with something every week, but yeah,
we do.
We're always really interested in what you would like us to discuss. If you have any comments on any of the podcasts that we've done before now, by all means, get in touch with either Maxine or myself, and, excuse me, give us your ideas, that sort of thing. We'll talk about anything. We could talk all day about anything, can't we, Maxine? So, and feel free if you wanted to come on and be a guest and talk about your experiences with something. We are more than happy to welcome, people aboard, aren't we? So
we are. Yeah.
So stay safe, everybody, and do reach out if you do need a bit of help or a bit of support, wherever that may be, or if you need a little bit of guidance of where you can get some help or support, then please do send one of us a message, and we'll be able to give you a bit of a hand with that.
Great.
All right, but other than that, make your changes, live your life, live your best life. 100%. Oh, take care then.
Bye.
Bye.